Imagine buying like a stunning $10,000 sofa for your living room.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Right now, imagine sitting on that exact same sofa 32 years from now. The fabric is totally worn out, it's covered in dust, and you suddenly realize you're actually still paying it off.
Oh, wow. That is a miserable thought.
And to make matters worse, that $10,000 piece of furniture, it has actually cost you over $23,000.
Yeah, the math on that is just brutal.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a hard look at the math, the psychology, and the hidden traps of personal finance.
And we have some really fantastic source material for this one.
We do. We're pulling from a fascinating excerpt from the second edition of the best-selling book, I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi.
Which is such a bold title, by the way.
It really is. But our mission today is to cut through all that paralyzing, guilt-inducing noise of the personal finance world. We're extracting the absolute, no BS strategies to help you build an automated, wealthy life. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Because if you're listening to this, you are probably incredibly busy. You don't have the time, or honestly the desire, to become a full-time financial expert.
No one does.
Right. You just want to stop feeling guilty every time you buy a coffee and actually get your money working for you.
Well, and the beauty of this source material is that it absolutely does not demand perfection.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, the entire philosophy is built on this concept of the 85% solution.
Meaning you don't need to be flawless.
Exactly. Getting 85% of the way there, automating your systems, and then just, moving on with your life is infinitely more effective than being completely paralyzed.
Because you're trying to build the perfect spreadsheet.
Right. We often treat money like it's purely a math problem. We assume it's objective and binary, but the text argues that personal finance is actually a deeply psychological problem.
We absolutely have to fix our minds before we can fix the math. I mean, we really need to explore why smart, highly capable people constantly fail at this stuff.
And the author makes this comparison to fitness that just perfectly encapsulates the issue.
Oh, I love this part.
He points out how people frequently gain weight after college. And instead of adopting the painfully obvious solution of simply eating less and exercising more,
They just dive headfirst into absolute chaos.
yeah, they immediately start debating the absolute minutia. They'll spend weeks arguing on internet forums about the exact optimal macronutrient breakdown of keto versus paleo.
Or obsessing over like a 16-hour intermittent fasting window. They do literally everything except put on their shoes and go for a walk.
Exactly. It's wild.
It's basically like meticulously rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Like instead of just grabbing the wheel and steering the ship away from the iceberg, you're spending 3 hours arguing about whether the lounge chair should face east or west.
You feel incredibly productive, but you haven't actually changed your trajectory at all.
And we do the exact same thing with our money. Instead of just logging into our accounts, tracking our spending, or setting up a basic automatic transfer.
So we sit around debating hot stock tips.
Or trying to predict global interest rates.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the reason we love debating these tiny details is that it provides an illusory feeling of progress.
It makes us feel smart.
Exactly. Engaging in a high-level debate about the stock market makes us feel sophisticated. It conveniently absolves us of the hard, unsexy work of actually looking at our own credit card statements.
Which nobody wants to do.
And this avoidance is largely driven by what the text identifies as invisible money scripts.
These scripts are so fascinating. They're these deeply unconscious beliefs that we've absorbed from our parents or from society, usually without even realizing it.
Like what?
Well, we walk around carrying beliefs like credit cards are an absolute scam, or rich people are inherently greedy,
Oh, yeah, you hear those all the time.
or the most dangerous one of all, I'm just doing my best.
Wow. Why is that one so dangerous?
Because it completely strips away all of your agency. It assumes you're just this passive passenger in your own life. And the author points out how this feeds directly into this pervasive victim culture around money.
Oh, the internet forums.
Yes. He highlights these communities where people actively compete to see who is the biggest financial victim. Someone will post a basic tip about saving just $20 a month, and the comments absolutely erupt.
People get so angry.
They'll write these massive essays explaining that the median income is simply too low, or macroeconomic policies ruin the housing market, so it's physically impossible to save 20 bucks.
And while they're exhausting their energy typing out those complaints, they are actively costing themselves hundreds of thousands of dollars in compound interest.
Yes. The math on this is crazy.
The source provides a really staggering breakdown to illustrate the cost of waiting. It uses a scenario called Dumb Dan versus Smart Sally.
I love this example. Let me break down the math here because it completely exposes the illusion that waiting until you have more money is a viable strategy.
Go for it.
So, Smart Sally starts investing at age 35. She invests a super modest $200 a month. She does this for exactly 10 years, and then she stops.
Doesn't put another dime in.
Right. She just lets it sit there. Dumb Dan, on the other hand, waits until he's 45. He realizes he's way behind, so he panics and starts investing $100 a month.
And he does this for 20 years, right?
Yes, twice as long as Sally was contributing. But assuming an 8% return for both, at age 65, Smart Sally has over $181,000.
And Dan.
Dan has about $118,000. He put his money in for double the amount of time, and Sally still beat him by over 60 grand.
Entirely because she started earlier. Doing nothing is not a neutral act.
No, it is a wildly expensive choice.
But doing nothing with your credit doesn't just cost you time. It actively penalizes your daily life. And nowhere is the advice more counterintuitive than in how we handle credit.
Oh, man. Let's look at Ramit's Honda Accord story because this perfectly illustrates that penalty.
It's such a painful story.
It is. So he comes from an Indian family where negotiating is basically an art form. It's a point of deep cultural pride. He talks about his dad spending 5 consecutive days fiercely negotiating the price of a car.
Down to the absolute penny.
Yeah. So years later, when the author goes to buy his own car, he is ready. He uses this sophisticated online bidding system, pits dealers against each other, and gets a phenomenal base price.
He walks into the office feeling like an absolute champion.
Ready to sign the paperwork.
But the victory is entirely short-lived. The dealer pulls his credit file and delivers a really harsh reality check.
Yep. They tell him his score is fantastic, but he doesn't have enough actual credit history.
Because he had avoided opening multiple lines of credit. He probably thought he was being financially responsible, but his file was just too thin.
And because of that lack of history, they refused to give him the promotional 1.9% interest rate. He was forced to take a 4.9% rate instead.
That seemingly tiny 3% bump ended up costing him $2,200 over the life of the loan.
All that masterful negotiating completely wiped out in 5 seconds.
Just because he didn't understand the rules of the game. People constantly confuse their credit report with their FICO credit score.
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
Your credit report is just the raw data. It's literally just a list of your basic info, your open accounts, late payments, inquiries, stuff like that.
Right. But your FICO score is the actual 3-digit number. It ranges from 300 to 850, and lenders use it to judge how risky it is to lend you money.
And understanding the mechanism behind that 3-digit number is so critical. Like if you look at the FICO pie chart, it's heavily weighted toward 2 things.
Yep. 35% is purely payment history. Lenders just want to know, do you pay your bills on time?
Seems fair.
But the second largest chunk, at 30%, is your credit utilization.
Let's pause on that utilization piece, because the logic there isn't always super obvious to people.
Like, if you have $10,000 in available credit across your cards, and you're carrying an $8,000 balance, you are utilizing 80% of your credit. Why does that terrify lenders?
Because lenders look at high utilization as a massive red flag. It signals desperation.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, if you're maxing out your available limits, it implies you're relying on borrowed money just to survive your day-to-day life. You're not using it as a convenient cash flow tool.
Right. Whereas if you have 10,000 available, but you only use 500 a month.
It signals immense control. It shows other institutions trust you with large sums of money, but you're disciplined enough to not actually spend it.
And the impact of mastering this score becomes painfully clear when you scale it up to major life purchases. The text breaks down the math on a $200,000 mortgage over a standard 30-year term.
The difference is staggering.
It really is.
Yeah.
If you have a top-tier credit score, you'll pay around $355,000 in total over those 3 decades. But if your score is low, say in the low 600s, you'll end up paying over $425,000.
That's a $70,000 difference.
70 grand, completely evaporating from your net worth simply because you didn't manage a 3-digit number.
That is the hidden tax of a poor credit score.
Okay, I have to push back here for a second.
Go for it.
Because if you turn on the news or look at any financial blog, the narrative is completely different. We are constantly told we're in an unprecedented debt crisis.
Yes, the media loves that angle.
They tell us credit cards are inherently predatory, that they're the root of financial ruin, and the only safe move is to take scissors and cut them all up. Isn't the author basically telling us to play with fire?
It's a completely valid concern, but the data in the text completely refutes that narrative. Credit itself isn't the enemy, financial ignorance is. The media thrives on outrage culture because fear generates engagement. But if you follow their advice and cut up your cards, you render yourself a ghost in the financial system.
You literally won't have the history to buy a house.
Exactly. However, the author is very clear that the danger of credit cards is absolutely real if you don't understand the brutal mathematics of minimum payments.
And that brings us right back to the sofa from the very beginning of our deep dive.
Precisely. If you buy $10,000 worth of furniture on a standard card with a 14% interest rate, and you decide to only pay the 2% minimum payment every month,
The math turns violently against you.
it will take you over 32 years to pay off that debt. And over those 3 decades, you will pay over $13,000 just in interest.
You're paying more for the privilege of borrowing the money than the actual furniture is even worth.
It's terrifying.
So, we've established that avoiding credit cards entirely is a massive mistake. But carrying a balance will literally bleed your future dry. So how do we actually master this tool?
The source outlines what it calls the 6 commandments of credit cards.
And the underlying theme is basically to stop playing defense, right?
Yes. You have to proactively manage these companies. You don't wait for the bank to dictate terms to you. You aggressively pursue getting annual fees waived and negotiating lower APRs.
The author provides this exact word-for-word script for this, and it's almost aggressively polite.
It's brilliant.
You call customer service, state that you noticed a late fee. You remind them how long you've been a loyal customer, casually mention competitor offers, and then you drop the magic question.
What can you do to remove this late fee?
Which is such a specific psychological tactic.
It is. You aren't asking a yes or no question like, can you remove this? By asking, what can you do? You bypass the debate of whether it's possible at all.
You immediately assume they have the authority to fix it.
And in almost all cases, frontline reps absolutely do have that power.
The most ruthless tactic in this entire section, though, has got to be the pocket tracker spreadsheet.
Oh, the documentation.
Yes. The author meticulously writes down the name, the exact date, the time, and the employee ID number of every single customer service rep he ever speaks to.
It sounds totally obsessive, but it's an incredible mechanism for shifting the power dynamic.
It totally flips the script.
The text shares a story where he was hit with a $160 early cancellation fee for his cell phone. The rep gave him a hard no, insisted the fee was hard-coded.
So he just opens his pocket tracker.
Yep. He quotes the specific employee ID number and date of a conversation from a year prior, where a different rep had promised no cancellation fees.
And magically, the impossible became possible.
Instantly. When you inject verifiable accountability into a system that relies on keeping you anonymous, they usually capitulate within minutes.
It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But the ultimate goal of all these tactics is to transform yourself into what the credit card companies internally refer to as a deadbeat customer.
Which is such a funny term.
Wait, yeah. Usually a deadbeat is someone who avoids responsibilities and doesn't pay their bills. Why on earth would banks use that word for their best customers?
Because to a credit card company, a customer who pays their balance in full every single month is a terrible investment.
Oh, because they aren't making any money off you?
Exactly. You're utilizing their grace period, racking up rewards, taking advantage of their perks, and never paying a single dime in interest. You are a deadbeat to their profit margins.
That is hilarious. Becoming a deadbeat should definitely be the goal. And once you reach that status, you can really start extracting value from the reward systems.
Which perfectly introduces the legend of Chris the Optimizer.
Oh man, this guy. He takes gaming the system to an absolute art form.
He really does.
He tells the author how he maximizes hotel rewards points. When he's traveling alone, he will intentionally book a hotel room with 2 beds.
Just for the points.
Yes. Certain hotel chains offer a 500-point bonus if you waive daily housekeeping. So Chris sleeps in 1 bed on Monday night, uses 1 set of towels, and then physically moves to the 2nd bed on Tuesday night.
Just to avoid needing his room cleaned.
Entirely to secure those 500 extra points.
It is an almost terrifying level of dedication to optimization.
It truly is. But it inspired the author's new personal travel motto, MBWOSIS. My body will only sleep in suites.
Because he manages his credit so well, he upgrades his international travel for free.
Okay, we cannot move on without discussing the salt and pepper rule.
Yes. The text actually quotes the classic hip-hop song Push It, specifically the line, "Only the sexy people," to establish a crucial boundary for this next tactic.
Right. Translated into finance terms, only the sexy people, means you should absolutely only attempt this strategy if you have zero credit card debt.
If you carry a balance, do not do this.
Exactly. But if you are debt-free, the tactic is to call your provider every 6 to 12 months and request a credit limit increase. The goal is not to spend more money.
It's purely mathematical manipulation.
Right. If your limit goes up, but your spending stays exactly the same, your credit utilization ratio automatically drops. You artificially lower your utilization, and your FICO score goes up.
What's fascinating here is that while people completely obsess over travel miles, the true value of premium credit cards lies in the secret perks.
The ones buried deep in the fine print.
Exactly. Almost every solid card offers an automatic warranty doubling mechanism. If you buy an expensive laptop and the manufacturer's warranty expires after 1 year, your credit card quietly covers it for a full second year.
For free. I had no idea they actually honored that.
The protections are extensive. They frequently offer primary car rental insurance, so you can decline that wildly expensive waiver at the rental counter.
Oh, that saves so much money.
And robust trip cancellation coverage. If you get sick and physically cannot fly, the credit card company will often cover the airline's exorbitant change fees. You basically get a hidden consumer protection army just for swiping the plastic.
That is an incredible arsenal of tools. But look, we have to acknowledge reality here.
Yeah.
You cannot play this high-level rewards game if you are actively bleeding 14 or 20% in interest every single month.
No, you definitely cannot.
We have to address how to aggressively destroy existing debt. Because the truth is, this is a daily nightmare for millions of people.
The psychological weight of carrying consumer debt is absolutely crushing. The author cites this terrifying statistic. Over 75% of people who are in debt don't even know exactly how much they owe.
Because facing the actual number is just too painful.
Right. They enter a state of complete denial. They stop opening the mail, delete email alerts without reading them, and while they look away, the interest compounds.
Facing the number is the unavoidable first step. But once you do, the math reveals something incredibly hopeful.
It really does. Even tiny tweaks to your payments can save you massive amounts of time.
Like the student loan example in the text. It looks at a $30,000 loan. If you just pay the standard minimum the bank suggests, you're locked in for a full 10 years.
But if you scrape together just $100 extra a month,
The math shifts dramatically. You save over $3,500 in interest, and you shave almost 3 full years off your repayment timeline. Just $100 changes the whole trajectory.
the math is undeniable. But when people do finally find the courage to face their debt, they often hit a new psychological wall.
Strategy paralysis.
Exactly. They get completely paralyzed debating the merits of the standard method versus the Dave Ramsey snowball method.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Let's break down the mechanics of those two strategies, because they appeal to entirely different parts of the human brain.
Okay, let's look at the standard method first. It's mathematically optimal.
Right, the rule is simple. Pay the bare minimum on every single debt you have and throw every extra dollar at the card with the highest APR.
The highest interest rate. By attacking the most expensive debt first, you objectively save the most money over the long term.
It's cold, hard logic. But the Dave Ramsey snowball method completely abandons mathematical optimization.
It favors psychological momentum instead. Under the snowball method, you still pay the minimums on everything, but you take all extra cash and attack the debt with the lowest overall balance.
Regardless of the interest rate. And the reason you do that is purely for the dopamine hit.
It really is.
When you clear out that small $500 balance quickly, you get the emotional sensation of crossing a complete account off your list. That victory generates momentum.
Which propels you forward to tackle the next largest balance.
So we have this massive clash between cold math and human psychology. Which method does the author actually say you should use?
He says it completely, 100%, does not matter.
Wait, really? After all that analysis?
After all of it, this is the ultimate manifestation of his 85% solution. He argues that the absolute worst thing you can do is spend 3 weeks building color-coded spreadsheets and arguing on Reddit about which method is superior.
Because the debate itself is just procrastination.
Exactly. Pick one method right now, today. Log into your bank, set up an automatic payment, and simply get started. Action is the only thing that cures the anxiety.
Well, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Just take the wheel and steer.
Seriously.
I want to take a second to speak directly to you, the listener, right now. Because we've spent the last 15 minutes deep in the weeds. We've thrown FICO utilization ratios, APRs, and compound interest calculations at you.
It's very easy to get lost in the mechanics.
It really is. But why should you actually care about any of this? The end goal here is not to become a miserable spreadsheet nerd. The goal isn't to spend your life clipping coupons and feeling a constant sense of ambient guilt every time you swipe your card.
The goal of all these systems is ultimately freedom.
Exactly. It's about building your specific, highly personal version of a rich life. The text highlights a story about a friend of the author who spends $21,000 a year going out to eat and drink.
And he does it entirely guilt-free.
Because he ruthlessly slashed his spending on things he genuinely doesn't care about, and he automated his savings to happen in the background.
Your rich life might look exactly like that.
Or, it might be leveraging the secret perks of credit cards to fly first class to Dubai. It might simply be having the peace of mind to stay home and buy an absurdly expensive, comfortable mattress without checking your bank balance first.
Whatever it is, mastering your credit and destroying your debt is the unavoidable first step.
Absolutely.
And this raises an important question to leave you with.
What's that?
Well, the author notes that once you push through the initial friction and get your financial systems fully automated, you only really need to spend about 90 minutes a month managing your money.
That's incredible.
Right. So think about the implications of that. If your debt was completely gone, if your accounts automatically routed your paycheck to your investments before you even saw it,
And money was no longer this constant source of anxiety.
what would you actually do with all the mental bandwidth and the free time you just got back?
What a profound question to end on. We started this deep dive talking about how the cold logic of math completely falls apart when we look at our own bank accounts.
How our money turns into a muddy emotional mess.
But it absolutely does not have to stay that way. You do not have to be a victim of the system. You can steer the ship away from the iceberg, become a deadbeat to the banks, and really take control.
You really can.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Go log into your accounts, find your own 85% solution, and start building your rich life today.